There's been reports of an American citizen killed in Lebanon. Can you give us any?
We have seen those reports. It's our understanding that it was a legal permanent resident, not an American citizen. But we obviously offer our sincerest condolences to the family on their loss.
On Tuesday of this week, an American man by the name of Hajj Kamel Ahmad Jawad was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon. His family confirmed that he is not simply a US resident, he was a United States citizen, but as you just heard from the State Department spokesperson, Matthew Miller, he alleges that he was actually just a legal permanent resident. Now, the Biden administration is also refusing to acknowledge the fact that Jawad was killed by the IDF, which the US, of course, rewards with endless weaponry, which is then in some cases used to carry out airstrikes that kill Americans. And a White House spokesperson issued the following statement about Jawad's death, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the death of Kamel Ahmad Jawad, and our hearts go out to his family and friends. His death is a tragedy, as are the deaths of many civilians in Lebanon." Now, note
which we financed, by the way.
Right, exactly. And note the deliberate omission of the fact that we're not, look, any civilian who gets killed is an injustice, okay? But what's particularly perverse and disgusting is when our taxpayer money goes toward military weaponry for a country that uses it in airstrikes that kill all these civilians, including in some cases Americans. It is disgusting. And that omission of what his status is as a United States citizen, I don't think was on accident. I think it was very much on purpose.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, is he really fully American citizen? He's not even Israeli. So we'll get to how disparate the treatment is for US citizens that are Israeli versus ones that are Lebanese or Arab or Muslim. We have more details on that coming up. Now, I relate to this guy in a couple of different ways. So I was a legal resident and had a green card before I became a citizen, right? That's usually how the process works. So what I was always afraid of when I had a green card was exactly what that US spokesperson just said. He's just a legal resident. That's, if you've never gone through that, of course, there's no way you would know that. But for everyone who's not a full US citizen, you feel like, the US government might or might not care about you. So if you were like holed up in a different country, would they come to rescue you? Probably not, right? But that's why when I became a US citizen, and you should go to one of those events, it is, the people in that room are so proud that they became Americans. And I felt like, hey, I'm gonna get full equality here. And I really believed that until recently. But now I realized, no. First of all, you're not really 100% citizen. Since you weren't born here, you're not allowed to run for president. We don't really trust you. We don't trust you. We think you might be a foreign agent or something. We won't let you run, even though everyone else in the country has 14th Amendment right to equal process and due process and equality. You don't, right? And now you see that the US spokesperson with your own eyes. I mean, he's wrong. The guy was a US citizen. But if he wasn't, he's like, yeah, but who cares about you, right?
I know.
And then you become a citizen, and he actually is a citizen. And are they doing anything to get them out of Lebanon? Are they panicking like they did with Israel, which again, we're gonna tell you about in a sec? No, of course not, because you're a Muslim US citizen. Your life is worth less to the American government. Well, is that written in law anywhere or in the Constitution? No, that one's got nothing to do with the Constitution, nothing with the law. It's just that Muslim Americans don't donate as much to American politicians as people who support Israel. So that's why our lives are worth less, because we don't give as much money and bribes to American politicians.
Cenk, I actually think it's much worse than that, okay? I think that it doesn't even matter what kind of American you are, what your cultural background is. The United States government does not care about you. And I'm saying this about a government that's currently being led by a Democrat. They don't care about you. Okay, if Israel does airstrikes that take out Americans, regardless of what their religion or faith is or what their cultural background is, they don't care. They just don't care. I mean, think about it. We're risking the lives of tens of thousands of American troops right now who are stationed in the Middle East, We sent additional troops, an additional, I don't even know, they're being very opaque about the amount of additional troops they sent to the Middle East. But those are all people who were there specifically to defend a nuclear power that's carrying out airstrikes and aerial bombardments of multiple sovereign countries.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, their military has better capacity than the entire Middle East combined. Then they have nukes. Then they have a defense shield that seems impenetrable. One Hezbollah rocket has landed with casualties. After October 7th, which they seem to have, well, let's put it this way, Israeli intelligence clearly knew about it. We've now seen Israeli intelligence amazing capabilities. And golly gee, October 7th just happened to happen so that we can invade 5 countries and take more land. Golly gee, but US troops, you go die for us over there, okay? Why? Why? Because the citizens are expendable. The donors are the most valuable, cherished thing in the whole wide world. So just, I know it's ugly, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's US politics. It's not really a democracy. Those donors are the oligarchs that rule us all, and then they send out mainstream media to lie to you and create a mirage of equality when no such equality exists.
Jawad's family wrote a statement saying that in his last days, he chose to stay near the main hospital of Nabatieh to help the elderly, disabled, injured, and those who simply couldn't financially afford to flee. He served as their guardian, provided them with food, mattresses, and other comforts, and anonymously paid off their debts. Now, he was a resident of Dearborn, Michigan, which is an American city, in case the Biden administration needs a reminder of that. An American city that Democrats are now rapidly losing support in for obvious reasons. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's office has stated that they have been in touch with his family. Rashida Tlaib, one of the very few Democrats who's actually on the right side of this issue. Meanwhile, the number of casualties in Lebanon grows higher and higher. More than 1,000 people, roughly a quarter of them women and children, have been killed by Israeli attacks on Lebanon since mid-September, in less than a month. And the United States continues to disregard American citizens who are currently in Lebanon, not just Jawad, but as I had shared with you all earlier this week, it appears that the US isn't really concerned about evacuating Americans who are currently in Lebanon. Yashar Ali tweets that the New York Times reports that there were no US officials, by the way, at the funeral of Ansar Igi, the US citizen who was killed by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank last week. They can't even be bothered to send someone that represents the Biden administration, anyone, just for appearances, to go to that funeral and show a little bit of compassion for what she and her family have gone through as a result of the war that we are supporting, we are funding, and enabling, by the way. Regardless of how many civilians get killed, regardless of how many Americans get killed, regardless of how much it destroys our own country, it destroys Israel's own country, it doesn't matter. We're just gonna keep funneling the weapons and enabling one of the most belligerent governments I have seen in a long time. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so first of all, I appreciate the Biden administration's honesty. They don't care about her, and so they made that obvious by not showing up to the funeral. So they're like, yeah, she's an American, but she's a Turkish American. Why? And if we go, people might write a story about it, and we don't want to remind people that Israel assassinated her. A sniper hit her from hundreds of yards away after a protest was done with a kill shot. But my guess is they'll say, well, a human shield was by a tree, was trying to protect, the tree was using her as a human shield.
There was a protest.
That's why we had to assassinate her. I mean, it was just collateral damage. We were just trying to take some bark off that Palestinian tree.
Yeah, I mean, there was a protest earlier where people were allegedly throwing rocks. So obviously you got to bring in the snipers.
Yeah, and they assassinated an American journalist there as well. But again, Muslim American, one of the most famous journalists in the Middle East. But do American lives really count if they're not Israeli lives?
Are they allowed to do airstrikes on American soil? That is a legitimate question. I'm seriously and sincerely asking that question. Can Netanyahu do airstrikes on American soil? Allege that there are Hamas militants. There's a command center. There's a command
Don't
center.
give them ideas, Anna. I swear to God, don't. Because if Israel started killing people inside America, do you think their funding would be cut? You know what the answer to that is. No, there's no chance it would be cut. They have so much power here that there's nothing they could do.
They literally
nothing they could do that would get their funding cut. I mean, later in the show, we're going to show you several different articles, Political, Washington Post, etc., where they do these giant exposés of how Biden has become impotent, etc., against Israel. And never is it ever suggested that maybe Biden could have protected American interests if he threatened to cut their funding. Because all of Washington, every reporter and almost every politician thinks, well, we must do what Israel says. That's not even an option to say no. So no matter, they kill American citizens, who cares? They assassinate an American journalist, who cares? We're not even going to show up to the American that they killed. You're an American who's stuck in Lebanon? We'll help you through Expedia.com. Maybe find a commercial flight. I'm not kidding. The Expedia part I made up, but you know, Anna, go ahead and tell them.
So earlier this week, on Monday specifically, the State Department issued a statement because people were asking, hey, is the government going to help evacuate these American citizens who are currently in Lebanon? Mind you, as people are asking this, you have China, paying for and evacuating their own citizens out of Lebanon, okay, getting them out of there. The US is like, yeah, there's commercial flights. We're not really dealing with this at this time. Deal with it yourself, pay for it yourself. We've got to save every nickel, every dollar for weaponry for Israel so they can keep carrying out these airstrikes. Well, US Marine veteran by the name of Jawad Haider was recently featured in Zetio, and basically he said he was trapped in Lebanon. He wanted to get out, he was having difficulty getting out. And because his story got some attention, the US State Department decided, okay, fine, we'll fly you out of Lebanon. Are we not merciful?
But that one guy.
Because
he was powerful enough to get media attention. But the rest of you, remember guys, Travelocity still in business. I don't even know if they are. And so good luck to you. We will not pay for your flights out, but we will pay for the bombs that might kill you and your family. And what did they do after October 7th with Americans that were in Israel? Not only did we pay for their flights, we sent planes and ships to go get them, which is infinitely more expensive. That is incredibly expensive. But to be fair, they were precious Israeli lives, not like totally cheap, useless, worthless Muslim American lives or Christian American lives that are Arabs or some other country like that doesn't even donate sufficiently to American politicians. Who could possibly care about American citizens that haven't even bribed Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
We have victims of the Camp Fire in California from 2018 who are still homeless. We have victims of the fires in Maui who are still homeless. We have the most recent victims of a natural disaster in North Carolina. North Carolina, of course, was hit the hardest by Hurricane Helene. What kind of help are they gonna get? I mean, if recent history is any indication, they're not gonna get much help at all.
Yeah, and look, guys.
I can't, Cenk. Like, I am so utterly disgusted by our government. Like, I'm at a loss for words. It is much worse than even I knew. Okay, the disregard for our lives, for our well-being, they just expect us to be an ATM for their war machine. That is it.
Yeah, wolf-pack.com. Why do I say that? I started a group to get money out of politics a dozen years ago. Why? Because I came to the conclusion, and I told you guys back then, and I've been telling you ever since, money in politics is everything. It's not, oh, that's an important issue, or oh, that's the number one issue. No, that's the only issue. Because every other issue is decided by who gives more money. And this is like a spectacular example of it, because there's American lives on the line, and they're saying, as long as you didn't donate enough to our politicians, American citizens are worthless. But the people who support Israel have donated hundreds of millions of dollars to politicians. So their lives are worth everything, everything. Those are the things that must be protected at all costs. Again, I would give a case of healthcare. 68,000 Americans die every year because they don't have health insurance. And the American government goes, who cares about those stupid Americans? Did they give me money? No. Did the healthcare insurance companies that rob you blind give me money? Yeah, they gave me billions of dollars. So you go ahead and die because I'm taking donor money. And guys, look, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, your party does that.
Yep.
So does the other party, but you're utterly deluded if you think the other party is evil and my side is angels. When they take the money, they don't care about the money at all. They care about me. That's not remotely true. It's never been true. These people, the politicians in this country, are the worst people in the whole country. They're not the best of us. They're the absolute bottom of the barrel worst of us.
Look, at this point, I mean, we're not going to get money out of politics anytime soon, okay? I know that you're very focused on that, but it's a difficult thing to accomplish. There needs to be another answer in the short term. And I don't know if it's the formation of a group that doesn't represent any particular country, but serves to just counteract some of the damage done by AIPAC. Yeah, there's got to be something.
No, look, there's only two solutions, and they're very, very difficult and involve a lot of pain, and there is no short-term answer at all. One, the Arab countries can start doing what Israel's doing, which is just find a way to funnel money to American citizens that are from their country originally, or their lineage or their family is, and just say, hey, I got a contract in Lebanon, and the Lebanese government gave me $1 billion for that contract. I'm now going to spend 200 million of it bribing American politicians. I mean, hey, exercising my freedom of speech.
Exactly.
Right? So I don't mean to do a how-to manual, but that's that AIPAC, it doesn't have to come from Israel. It's people who support Israel they are American citizens, right? So but they get to do it. Other American citizens get to do it. I don't know how people get their money. I don't know how the folks who donated to AIPAC got their money, and I don't want to know, right? And that's not my business. So same thing for Lebanese or Saudis or whoever it is, because there's an open auction. So now if you're not bidding to save the lives of your particular ethnicity, the American government will kill that ethnicity for the ethnicity that just
bribed them.
That bribed them more, right?
Exactly.
So soon, look, this is obvious to the other governments. They're beginning to figure this out. And that's why Azerbaijan, Turkey, Egypt bribing local government officials a little bit here and there. They're beginning to understand, oh, it's an auction in America. Let's just go buy them.
They're just doing it illegally.
And yeah, that's illegal because they're dumb. The UAE and Saudis are more sophisticated. They bought the think tanks. They bought a lot of different things, different ways to influence. They gave Donald Trump's son-in-law $2 billion after goodies that he delivered. Et cetera. They give the money to the think tanks, and the think tank scholars tell you how great the UAE and Saudi Arabia is. They bought Washington through that method, and eventually they'll figure out the other part too, and they're in the middle of figuring it out. And then, by the way, people will be outraged. Can you believe? Just name a random country, right? Kazakhstan, now we're sending 20 billion, 200 billion to Kazakhstan. Yeah, I can believe that in a second. All they got to do is put a couple $100 million into American elections, and they'll get billions, maybe even trillions out. So number one, that's one way to end Israel's dominance, is to outbribe them. Okay, I'm giving you the most real advice there is in the world. Okay,
maybe it's time for you to form a new super PAC, Cenk.
No, I don't want any part of that. I hate it. I hate it.
I mean, I hate the formation of the super PACs, but this one I can maybe get behind.
Okay, and then the last possibility is that Israel does start the war with Iran, and it becomes a giant war. Right now they're bombing Syria, Lebanon, Yemen. They've done assassinations in Iran, and obviously they've leveled the occupied territories. So that war can get large enough, and then we could spend trillions. And then if you say trillions, come on, Cenk. We spent over $2 trillion in Iraq. Iran's 4 times the size of Iraq. So after America has lost however many thousands of lives of our service members, et cetera, and we've lost a couple of $1 trillion, my guess is the left wing has never mattered, guys. We just don't have enough money and power. They're never, ever gonna listen to us. But at some point, the right wing's gonna get mad. And when the right wing gets mad, then Israel's gonna have a trouble for the first time in its history here in America. And the right wing continues to get angrier and angrier about all the money we're shoveling to them instead of taking care of our own citizens. So Israel and Netanyahu is playing with fire, but they don't realize it in their infinite arrogance. And if America pulled out and said, hey, good luck to you, Israel, Israel would be so outraged because they feel a sense of entitlement. You owe us. In one of the stories we're about to get to, Netanyahu was furious, the Washington Post reported, that Biden was slow walking some of the money to them and the weapons. So we gave them $26 billion on top of the $4 billion we normally give. And he said, how dare you not get it to me as fast as I want, okay? So that guy, if America cuts it off, will be bewildered. All of Israel will be bewildered. Doesn't America work for us?
Well, I mean, look.
How dare they not give us money? But brothers and sisters, especially if you love Israel, that day is coming. And when it does, it's gonna rock your world in terms of how you view the world and your entitlement. And so, and then, oh my God, the crying at that point will be spectacular. How can you leave us and not pay for all of our bills? How we'll get universal health care for our citizens that are so much more valuable than your citizens? How will we get paid family leave for our moms who just had babies? They're so much more valuable than your moms who don't have paid family leave. How dare you not fund all of our wars and give us endless blankets, $300 billion. Now, at some point, the entire country is gonna get past mainstream media propaganda that has told you that Israel is a beloved special ally who has they literally call it a moral army, as it devastates and obliterates the Middle East. Yep. And once that propaganda stops to work, then Israel's in a world of trouble, but we're not anywhere near that yet. Super proud to announce the first ever audience sponsorship that we've gotten, and it's from Happy Warrior Games, which is perfect, okay? Happy Warrior Games is an eBay store and your one-stop shop for new and pre-owned movies and video games. Guys, this is a small business, and we decided we're gonna do this not for the giant corporations, but for small businesses through tyt.com/sponsorship. And Happy Warrior Games took us up on it. So there are eBay stores, I just told you, doing pre-owned movies and video games and new ones as well. They have a massive collection, over 6,000 items, adding new inventory daily. All their items are quality tested and guaranteed to work, or you can send them back at no cost. But wait, it gets better, I love this. 10% of all sales are donated to Gleaners Community Food Bank in Detroit. So not only are you getting the entertainment you love, but you're also helping out a good cause. That's why they're Young Turks members. I love the open minds, open hearts here. Plus, with the promo code TYTHAPPY, you can have 10% off of your purchase. So visit ebay.com today and search for Happy Warrior Games. Or, you know what, we made it even easier. Go to tyt.com/happy. How's that for the beautiful beginning to audience-supported sponsorships? tyt.com/happy. Happy Warrior Games is our first member-owned business supporting TYT through a sponsorship. Hopefully they won't be the last. You all can participate as well at tyt.com/sponsorships. We love you guys.